Welcome to My Morning Cup, a podcast produced by Costa Media Advisors, brought to you by Rock Point Bank. Rock Point Bank is from Chattanooga for Chattanooga. My Morning Cup, where we have interesting conversations with genuine people. I'm Mike Costa, your host. This is our year-end wrap-up with Chip Baker and Roy Vaughn. What's in your morning cup, Chippy?
Right now it's water because I left my cup in the car, so I'm drinking water.
Do you want to go get it? We'll pause.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay. See you in a minute. Mr. Vaughn, how are you?
I'm great. I'm shocked that we're back, and thanks for having us back.
Well, you know, it's nice that you guys could come back because the first 47 people I asked said no.
Okay, well, it makes total sense.
That's pretty much par for the course, isn't it, Roy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I'm not so shocked.
So what do you want to talk about? It's been a fun year on My Morning Cup, but what's going on? Talk about your year. How's your year been? What do you got coming up, Roy?
I have retirement coming up at the end of the year.
Retiring?
Yeah.
You're not old enough to retire.
I most certainly am, and I'm focused on it, and I'm gonna make the finish line.
So
it looks like
you're short timing it.
Well, that's what I've been told. Yeah, but I am I'm looking forward to it, and there are some bets that I won't do it really well, and then I'm gonna try to prove those people wrong, but we'll see, right?
I think you'll do fine.
It's a journey. I don't know where we're going. We're gonna have fun trying to get there. Whatever.
I'm sure Laura will have a lot of suggestions for you to get out of the house.
I'm most certain of that.
Yeah, she asked me to have my guest room ready for Roy.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's like, if you need a place to stay, we get you covered. I'll say this, Roy. I mean, I've watched your retirement. I've watched other people retire, and you've done it with style and class. Not only you, but Blue Cross. And, it's been fun to watch. I know it's not easy after such a great career, but to go out on top with great fanfare, if you will, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chip.
You know, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we have a new sponsor this year, because this will be released January 5th, I think it is. Rock Point Bank. Thank you to Hamp and everyone over at Rock Point Bank for being a sponsor of My Morning Cup. I think it's going to be a great partnership.
Tell you what, they're blowing and going.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Glad to see them step up in sponsors, but being for Chattanooga here means something, and I'll confess I'm an investor.
Well, the two you guys are, and I miss that.
It's a great group.
Maybe that's your next career, banking.
I don't think so.
Well, he could be a rainmaker.
Don't think
Be
so.
a greeter at Walmart.
Well, I got that one. He'll have to step over my dead body to get that job.
That's right.
Because that's coming up for me. So let's talk about the year. Podcast's been successful this year. It's been 3 years. Anything stick out for you?
Gosh, so much. I'll say this. I mean, I really look forward to Mondays because I listen with bated breath to hear who you've got on and what their story is. I mean, the stories that I've heard and that you've really done a great job doing interviews with are amazing. You know, some certainly more than others, but a lot of really cool ones, like the recent one you did with the guy from TVA who
Robbie Ansari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to listen to his story and the emotion in his voice and how grateful he is to be an American.
Yeah.
It's surely the American story and the American dream. And I just really truly enjoyed that, as I do almost all of them. I mean, there's occasionally a little blip, but not very many.
Well, and for folks who don't know, Chip calls me every Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning, and we play the "What do you think I rated it?" game.
1 to 10. 1 to 10.
1 to 10. I've got it, and I've been pretty good at understanding what he likes. But it is nice to get that feedback. You and my youngest brother, whose birthday happens to be today, give me weekly feedback every week. He's a lot kinder than you are.
And usually you grade
hard.
out well, but sometimes he's the East German judge.
Yes,
Right? and so,
yeah.
you have to deal with that from time to time.
Yeah, my brother will give me a 10, and Chip's like, "Here's a 3."
Yeah, it's 3.
Well, why was it 3? Because I didn't know him. I didn't like him.
You know, one of the things that strikes me about my morning cup is the depth and breadth of the leaders that you've showcased, particularly not just this year, but over 3 years. And so I will think back to an early conversation we had right as you were about to start, and one of the points with podcasts is it takes a lot of care and feeding. You got to constantly be developing your stories and your content, and you've done it extraordinarily well. So talk about, if you will, if you don't mind, that depth and breadth of leaders that you've been able to showcase on My Morning Cup. Well,
and I appreciate you bringing that up. So when we started, you do what you normally do. Like if you were going into banking or insurance, you call on family and friends. So my original ask were you guys and people I knew. And I think you said something pretty important to me, Roy. You said, before you have me and a lot of your stale, male, pale friends, you need some diversity. And we've intentionally tried to do that. There's no shortage of people who have interesting stories that, are in a position today that people look at them and say, oh, look how successful they are. They've led a charmed life. Not many people have led a charmed life.
That's true.
I mean, in reality.
Everybody's got a story you don't know.
Yeah.
They have, right?
Everyone's got a story. Everyone's carrying a burden that you don't know about.
Exactly right.
You look at people in some positions that you just think they've always been there. Their struggle to get to that position is really the interesting thing.
Well, I think that's what's great about this podcast is that it's just that. I mean, everyone comes to a fork in the road, and you know what they do?
They take it.
They take it. That's right. And there's lots of forks. I remember when I transitioned from doing Riverbend for 20 years to running Crestcom, and I did a lot of due diligence, a ton. And then you have to take a leap of faith. And a friend of mine said, try it for a year. If you don't like it, do something else.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing I've ever done. But my family was not real, excited for me to leave something that they loved me doing. And I just knew it was time.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I remember our conversations. I'm sure Roy had these conversations with you too, is we wanted you to do something that you were going to be happy. But I think my counsel to you was write out your contract. You can make this decision in a year, plan it out a little bit more, but you jumped in full feet.
The thing about Chip in Crestcom is he is absolutely passionate about it, and you can't fake passion.
No.
Right? And people know that, right? And so whether you're trying to sell into their business and get them to understand what you're doing, or whether it's you're delivering the training and the leadership programming that they do, you can't fake that passion, right? And it comes through. It's just like this. You are a great storyteller. You draw people out, and that's why this is so compelling.
Well, I appreciate that. So here we are. We're into 3 years. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people, and I think this year's been a really good year with the podcast. It's gained some traction, told some good stories. What are some of the ones that you feel stood out?
Well, I mentioned Robbie from and escaping Afghanistan.
That's a movie. I mean,
it is.
How someone hadn't bought the rights to his life and is not making that a movie. Maybe that's what we should do.
Yeah, escaping on a motorcycle and he gets a flat tire.
Yeah.
And then he has to leave part of his family behind to make it, and then hopefully they come back and get him. They do.
Yeah.
But, it's just a great story. And there's just so many. I mean, my favorite is episode 3.
Gosh.
We get more requests for episode 3.
I understand that.
I'm sure they're all from the Baker family,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. We've talked about a couple of these, but Robbie Ansari, I think that was compelling. Tom Glenn, because I'm a fan of Tom Glenn.
Good guy.
He is just He's just a world-class, wonderful guy, right? Just period. Just look it up, right?
Yep.
And there's his photo. Plus, I'm also a fan. Like I'm a customer, and so when you go into an Elder's Ace Hardware, they're phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Their culture,
It's a throwback. It's to what you grew up with, the local hardware store.
So and it's genuine from him. Again, you can't fake passion, right? And it's clear that he loves it. It's clear that his people love being there.
Yeah.
And that's a direct reflection of the culture that they've created.
And that-
And he's David Glenn's cousin.
Cousin.
Is he really?
Yeah,
I
I learned that in
did
the
not know
podcast.
that.
And
That's right. Oh, yeah.
And it's a much larger company that I think people in Chattanooga understand. They've got, if not 1,000, a couple thousand employees across the Southeast.
And I think Troy Kemp is a very deep,
Troy was good, and
very deep guy. Like really, really is.
And that backstory being a migrant worker.
Yeah.
And then what an arc he's had.
Yeah.
Like just remarkable. So like it does go to show you like life is not linear, careers are not linear. None of it is. It's about like how do you make the most out of what's in front of you, right? And I think that's part of what your guests tell us.
Well, and I'll give you a good example of that is Ken Jones at EPB. Ken grew up here, did not have the advantages of a lot of us have, got in some trouble at a young age, and straightened his life out, and is probably one of the most public-facing employees of EPB that I can think of right now.
Head up UTC's alumni association.
Yeah.
It's just a total class act. There you go.
And then I know one Chip liked a lot, and I thought it was a good podcast too, was Stephen Culp.
Oh, amazing
Yeah.
story. Amazing story.
Yeah. Stephen was there when the Berlin Wall came down.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, but it's like what Roy just said. I mean, your path isn't linear. It's got twists and turns, and that's what I love about the podcast. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff about people I thought I knew, and then I listened to their career, and it's just to me amazing to watch how their careers have progressed. And I think that's the takeaway for anyone who listens to my Morning Cup is people's careers are interesting. They're not straight. They just go in all kinds of directions and learn, the twists and turns.
Well, and I think I've mentioned this before. The idea for this came from with my daughters in mind, who were in their mid and late 20s at the time. That they would get on LinkedIn and see a high school friend who just got promoted to vice president or whatever, and they're celebrating, or they get on Instagram and there's another college friend who's in Monte Carlo standing on top of a Lamborghini on top of the world. And they're looking and going, why is this not happening for me? And my point was always, careers are not a straight line. Careers are an up and down and a back and forth, and everyone's got a story that they've had to overcome.
Yeah. I think my Morning Cup is about a resilience. It's about often very intensely personal experiences, and that's why it's really rich from the standpoint of understanding what drives, particularly leaders, because you're talking to people who've achieved a manner of success, but what are the common threads among those? And there are a few that stand out, but resilience is certainly one of them that comes to mind. What about for you?
I absolutely resilience, and as I've gotten older, I think a real common thread for people who have been through all that and where they are now is gratitude and empathy. To be able to look back and go, I hated going through that, or I hated that experience.
But I learned so much.
But I learned
Boy,
something.
no kidding,
right?
right?
and you can even take that to when you've got a bad job. Either you're working for not a good company or you're not working for a good boss. I've had to, and I forget who said this to me. It was someone on this podcast that says, you got to look at it as they're paying you to learn. So even if it's a bad boss and a bad job, You're being paid
That's true.
to learn. And you can take whatever you learned in this job and apply the good things somewhere else and learn from the bad things.
Well, and that's a great point because I use in my class an old boss of mine from Dallas at Children's Medical Center, this guy was a Harvard grad, and he was smart. He was a smart guy, and he wanted you to know how smart he was, but he didn't have any emotional intelligence. And I use that as a positive example of what not to do in class, and it's something I learned from him. I mean, I didn't exactly love going to work every day when I'd see him, but I learned from it, and that was a real positive takeaway.
I think some of the most instructive periods, in my career are I'll give you ones on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Which is one is you're in that tough situation. Maybe it's someone that is really difficult to deal with, and you push through it, and it is you often walk away with, I'm not going to treat people like that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to endeavor to never make someone feel like that. It really is personal, and it really does inform where you go the rest of your career in terms of the way you deal with people. The other one is it's on the opposite side, which is somehow, some way, all of us have one or two people who at some point in our career, often when we're younger, looks at us and sees something in us that we don't even see in ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And then they say, like, I think you can go do this. In fact, you've got responsibility for this, and you're going. Your internal voice is saying, "Wait, what? Me? Are you sure?" And externally, you're saying, "Okay,
Yeah.
right."
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a confidence crisis, but hey, they trusted you, and you know what? And then you get through it, and you go, like, guess what? I can in fact do that,
and
right?
And that's what a lot of people need is someone else to show confidence in them.
Yeah.
So they have confidence in themselves.
Absolutely.
So, Michael, I have a question for you. You've done a few podcasts at Rotary. What's that experience been like, doing something as intimate as a podcast in front of a group of 200 or 300 people? Well,
it's funny you bring that up because we have actually done 3 live podcasts this year, and our intention was never to do. We didn't go out and say, "Oh, we got to do podcasts in front of a live audience." We were actually asked to do them. The one in Rotary was the program committee wanted to have Mitch Patel back, and Mitch wanted to do something a little bit different than just give a speech. So we did a fireside chat, which was nice. We had a couple hundred folks, but was also able to do a live podcast with Tom Glenn for Entrepreneurial Week, and with Brian Hunt of Southern Champion Trey at the Global Leadership Summit, which is a national program that they have viewing parties in different cities around the country, and we got to do Chattanooga's. I'll tell you, doing it with a live audience is interesting.
is it hard to concentrate?
Fortunately, I'm able to tune it out, and it's just me sitting here talking to you or talking to Tom or talking to Brian. But I like the feedback of the audience too. So, Madison, can I ask you a question? You've been right in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
What's your experience been like? You know, you're much younger than the 3 of us, and what have you learned?
Oh my gosh, this has been almost like a professional development each week for me because I meet so many people that I've heard their names, or maybe I haven't even heard their names before, and I learn how impactful they've been to the Chattanooga community. Like even this morning we had a guest, and I saw her as, the CEO of this organization. Like she was just somehow magically there. And she really had this struggle through life to get where she was. And you don't see that whenever you just see a name on paper. So it's been incredible for me.
I like that word struggle, because life.
Life's not easy.
Life's not easy, but if you look at it right, you position it right, it is a struggle, but you work your way through it. And I just think that's resilience. We use words like resilience and struggle and all these words that make sense. But it's cool getting it from your perspective, because I like the way you called it a professional development, because it really is. For me, even, I sit there and I go, I had no idea they went through this, and it's interesting.
And for me, it's been just selfish pleasure. And what I mean by that is I get to sit down and have conversations with a lot of people I know, some I don't know, and find out things and be able to hear that struggle, but also apply those lessons to myself. And frankly, I think it's made me more, acceptance is not the right word, but I go back to gratitude and empathy. Yeah.
And understanding.
Understanding, yeah.
So you're 3 years in,
Well,
and you
150.
Six today.
This will be the 156th episode, I believe. Yes.
That includes episode 3.
It's a lot of content.
And you know what?
That includes episode 3.
And here's the thing.
Although we've deleted that one. I'm sorry.
And here's the thing. Chip said it would never last, but
did
you've
not.
proved him wrong yet again.
Well, I remember when I told you two guys about it, I had gone to the bathroom and I came back and I overheard you guys sit and Chip going, I don't know what he's freaking doing. This is the biggest mistake he's ever made in
I
his
said
life.
that about your whole life.
Yeah.
Such a bad idea. So, but 100. How do you continue to get new ideas for guests? Because, 154. That's and by the way, I don't see you slowing down with it. So, tell me how you work that process.
The city of Chattanooga has a population of 160-something thousand. So I figure we got a while. We got at least 100 years before I run out of.
Sure.
The reality is I'm not going after themes. I'm just connecting with people who I think might be interesting, and we don't. I don't have a list of questions. Just get some background material, and we just have a conversation. Just as if we're sitting at Mean Mug having a cup of coffee,
Or Tremont having a beer.
Anything that you take away theme wise? I know we talk about the depth and breadth of leaders. Anything that strikes you, tell me about. Break it down by industry. How many industries have been represented? What I would be curious to know.
It's actually pretty even. 30 about almost 40% are for-profit business related titans of industry, for lack of a better description. But 33% are nonprofits. We've got Chattanooga is one of the most generous cities when it comes to nonprofit organizations, and we've probably got more nonprofits per capita than a lot of cities in this country
because of the generosity.
Because of that generosity, and the reality is they've got to fight for the same dollars, quite frankly. But the last chunk of that is 30% are entrepreneurs. Chattanooga's really become a hotbed for the entrepreneurial community, and you can trace it back to the gig of fiber. Attracting the likes of obviously Lamppost establishing themselves here, but Bellhop came here because of the gig and because of Lamppost. They were in Alabama. So what's going on now with Brickyard, and then being able to say, look, we're going to invest in your company, but if we invest in your company, you're signing up for 2 years to move to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to come work in this building that doesn't have offices, that everyone's kind of out in the same common area, learning from each other, hearing from each other, and competing against each other. That's pretty powerful. And now you fold that into what's going on with EPB and Quantum and the Vanderbilt Innovation Center, and what that will mean for UTC and what that will mean for University of Tennessee in Knoxville and all the ancillary businesses. I'm going to have plenty of opportunity to talk to folks in different sectors.
So where do y'all see us in 10 years?
I have said since I've been here, and I came here in 2000, that Chattanooga's next 10 years will be their best 10 years. And I've said that every year.
Yeah.
And it's true every year.
It is.
Now, we have gone through great periods of growth and advancement. And when I say growth, not necessarily population growth, but the city developing and changing its identity and becoming a better place to live. But we've also gone through quite a bit, not quite a bit, but enough of resting on our laurels. And I really think that was a big part of the message of a month or two ago that Bob Corker had about Chattanooga Ventures, to reignite that spirit of, we've got a good thing, but you can
make
have
it better.
Yeah, you could have a really nice home, but if you don't maintain it and you don't do things, it eventually gets out of date, and we don't want to be out of date.
Yeah, when I got here in 1992, Vision 2000 was happening.
Yeah.
And it was, intriguing because the aquarium had just opened. Downtown was still not in very good shape. The South Side didn't exist.
Well, it existed. You just didn't go there.
In its form it is today. And it's just like, even a couple of weeks ago, went to Main Times 24. What a great
I love
group
that.
of humanity. Yeah. Everyone just having a good time and being around each other and enjoying really all things Chattanooga. And it's so cool to be part of it. And to have someone like Roy, who had a great career in Nashville for 24 years, said, it's worth the investment to come back home, and then to have, finish up with a great career there. So it's a place when I understood, young people would go to college or go whatever, they'd graduate high school, move on somewhere, and then they wouldn't come back.
Yep.
And now it's like, I've got 4 kids, and I've got 2 that really want to be here, and then the other, are in places where they have to go with their job. Mm-hmm. But for them to want to come back, I think they all would come back if they could. But what a great place it's become. Our growth is like 1% a year, so it's not like it's crazy growth. We could do a better job on the outlying areas, but that's that's a county thing.
To it, yeah.
But all in all, I mean, you've said this before, Mike. If you want to get involved as much or as little as you want with the community, you can do that.
Yeah.
The door's open if you choose to go in it.
So let me ask real quick, how do we continue that? Because what do you say to, say, someone Madison's age or our kids' age of, here's how you get involved? Because it's easy for us. We're in our 60s. We're in the tail end of our career. But for someone who's building their career, what are those decisions you make? Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, I mean, I always tell people if they're new to town, I always say 2 things you ought to be a part of. One is the Downtown Rotary, or Rotaract for the younger folks, and the Chamber of Commerce, because the Chamber of Commerce is our generator, our business generator. And one of the things we really haven't talked about that I'm really excited about are the 2 projects down on the river, the Bend and the Broad Street development. I hope to see that develop in my lifetime.
And the Broad Street is the baseball stadium, right?
The Foundries District.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And 2 exciting opportunities for great developments on, the one thing that amazed me when I moved here is we got this beautiful river called the Tennessee River going right through the middle of town, and not a lot of stuff on it. Mm-hmm. And so, when the boathouse opened, I was like, wow, that's a cool restaurant. But these developments will be right on the river.
Yeah.
Well, to your point about the ability of development to attract, I mean, if you think about what has happened with the South Side and the Main Street corridor, and you mentioned it, Main by 24, what a great celebration of community. And that has been an attraction for a lot of young professionals to return to Chattanooga, right? You can live a lifestyle that is really suited to your interest and what you want to do, and really choose this community for all the right reasons. I also think in terms of getting involved is look at those nonprofits that are so prevalent within our organization, within our community, and start to volunteer. And as you begin to go forward in your career, express an interest in serving on a board committee or on the boards, and what that does for you is it provides you, I think, with a level of currency. And when I say currency, I don't mean it in the transactional sense. I mean, when I say currency, I mean knowing what's relevant in your community, knowing how things happen in your community, being part of what happens in your community. That's the currency I'm talking about. So when you're plugged in like that, then you naturally develop relationships and deeper relationships and the ability to find new ways to contribute. That's the currency I'm talking about.
How many people have you met over the course of your career that you've done business with that you originally met, whether it was serving on a board or some ancillary thing that you developed a relationship with them and it led to something else?
I think you lose count if you're pre-involved. I think you lose count because it may not be you doing business directly, but it is the ability to connect others with them and say, look, I don't do that, but I know somebody who does. And it's that currency, like it's just knowing how things work and knowing how to contribute and knowing how to connect people.
It's funny. My first board that I got on here was the Goodwill board. And the reason that is because I was
Dennis Bryce running.
Dennis Bryce.
Yeah,
I was in Leadership Chattanooga, and we did a retreat, and Dennis was my roommate. So we became just good buddies. And he goes, "Hey, why don't you come on the Goodwill board?" I'm like, "Well, what do you do?" And I found out. And it was a great organization to be a part of. But it was really, you mentioned earlier networking, how you find people, and that's true for everything that we do. It's how well have you developed your network of people, relationships you've developed that help you understand how to get things done, how to help the community, how to make things happen. That to me is the most wonderful thing about Chattanooga.
Along those lines, have you ever called anyone, talked to anyone, and said, "Hey, I just need to bounce some ideas off," like when you were looking for what you were going to do next, that someone said no?
No, not at all. Not in this community, for sure.
And that's kind of my point is I think what the power of asking someone to help you has, because most people, if you call and say, "Hey, I need some help," 99% of the people are going to find a way to help you. And I don't think as you get older, you realize that. But I think when you're younger, you don't realize that if you just ask, there's people out there that are going to take time with you.
And that's something I do in classes. It's okay to say, "I don't know."
That's exactly where I was going, Chip. That's one of those things, like particularly with young professionals, you try to stress it. It's okay to raise your hand and say, "Wait a minute, what? Can you help me here?" And to emphasize, that is not any sign of weakness whatsoever. In fact, it's about intellectual maturity and being able to say, "Hey, I need some help," and it's a great thing to do, and everyone is better off. The person you ask, you, the organization, those around you, everyone's better off.
Well, and I think a lot of miscommunication gets caught up in people afraid in admitting that they may not know it.
I think Roy said that well. I mean, people think it's weak. It's not. It's fortitude. It shows that you've got the guts to say, I don't know, but I want to know.
Well said.
Yeah. All right. Before I get to the last question, I do want to remind our listeners that I am extremely thankful to Rock Point Bank for sponsoring my morning cup. So it's a big thank you to Rock Point Bank from Chattanooga for Chattanooga. All right. I'll let you chew on this one a second. What was the most impactful thing for you in 2025? They're pointing to each other. No, you go first. You go first.
I was going to say Roy's retirement, but that's not for me to say.
Well, that is impactful on you, isn't it?
No, for me, it's just been a great year. I mean, between my business, which is Crestcom,
what is your business?
Crestcom.
What does that do?
It teaches the future. I was very fortunate 2 years ago. Mayor Kelly put me on the airport board, which is fun, and I love all things aviation. And then this is an election year for county commission, and truly,
Are you running?
I am. Thank you. But people say, why do you do that? And I think most people don't believe me. I do it to give back. 33 years ago, we moved to a community we knew no one, had no children, and it's been just such a wonderful place to be a part. It's just a way to give back.
Let me add something to your county commission and your foray into politics. There's been many a time that Roy and I have been having a beer with you to say, why the hell do you do that? And you look at us and go, I love it.
Uh-huh. Sometimes, most times.
No, you do. You've got a genuine heart for it. And I don't know if I'd have the patience for it, quite frankly.
Yeah, you would. You'd be surprised. And it goes back to networking. You just find out what drives people. And then, your heart is for the best for our community. So, you've got all the components. You just.
Except my closet is too deep and too dark.
Yeah, Ed heard that about you.
What about you, Roy? What's impactful in 2025?
I think the decision to retire, that is backed by a tremendous amount of gratitude to Blue Cross, to the Chattanooga community. It's been incredible 18 years, and I have loved the organization, loved our people. J.D. Hickey, our CEO, he's just simply the best. He's a remarkable human being. So it's been fun to get to work with him and the executive team. We have fantastic employees. So there's just the opportunity to be involved.
So your heart's full.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And capped off by, I will just say, last Monday, had a new addition to our family. I grew up with three brothers, have three sons, have a grandson, and now we have the first Vaughn girl.
Wow.
So a grandchild born last Monday. Her name is Claire Wesley. And so just in time for my retirement.
That's great.
So we're going to spend a lot more time with her.
Well, wonderful.
How about you?
Most impactful thing of 2025. So, I've thought about this a little bit. I took a sabbatical running some stations in Montgomery, and I commuted.
Yeah.
And I realized that why am I here being in Montgomery? I want to be back in Chattanooga. So I came back and opened Costa Media Advisors. And I think the most impactful thing for me in 2025 was the realization of I'm going to focus on the things I want to do through the company. Yeah, there's a lot of things I do, but really focus on the leadership workshop and, frankly, this podcast. I love doing this. This is the highlight of my week, to be able to sit down and talk to people and hear their stories and share them with people. And the feedback I get is great. And you used to get upset at me about this. When I'd tell people I started this podcast for my ego, it remains true. There's no ego stroke like that. Yeah.
You do it really well, and it's a gift to all of us. I would say this too. Like if somebody was looking at moving here, and they wanted a kind of a modern history of Chattanooga leadership, I'd send them here. This is the first place I'd send them.
Or professional development.
Professional development's right.
And along those lines, our good friend Charles Wood has put us in on the Trend Magazine's website, where the podcast has a place, and it goes out in the Chamber newsletter and the Trend newsletter.
That's great.
As a direct link. Is also my good friend John Wilson in Chattanoogan.com.
Yep.
Puts us in Chattanoogan.com, and WUTC promotes us every Wednesday. We got a clip on there. So,
and we have our own newsletter.
Which I wish I could. You don't want me to read the newsletter link, do you?
No, just find it in the show notes.
Yeah, you can find the newsletter in the show notes. But it is a great newsletter. So we got a lot going on, and I'd like to. My plan is to continue to do it.
Well, you're good at it.
Well,
You're
it's-
good at it, and I look forward to it every week. It gets my week going.
I look forward to this episode every year. Really appreciate you guys. Love you both, and look forward to 2026. And Madison, thank you for all you do. None of this would have been happening if it weren't for you. When I first did the podcast, the first compliments I got on it was, "It sounds so good and so professional." And you've not only helped technically, but you helped steer this for me from a content perspective.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. And you've also taught me how I need to speak to my daughters. Because I talk to my daughters like they're daughters. I don't talk to them like they're adults. And I talk to Madison like she's an adult. At least I hope I do.
Yes.
So thank you very much. This has been fun, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Mike.
It's going to be another great year for Chattanooga. Thanks for listening to My Morning Cup, a podcast by Costa Media Advisors. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. I release a new episode each week, so be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts.